Hi, my name is Tara, and on behalf of fontbundles.net, I will be showing you today how to get your text to be thicker than the current size it is. When you are cutting files, especially things like vinyl, it is crucial that your text that you are using is not too thin. You tend to find that fonts like Bright Light from the Celebration Bundle at fontbundles.net and some other cursive writing fonts tend to be very thin in certain parts of their text. You can overcome this in programs like Silhouette Studio and Cricut Design Space. Today, I will be showing you through Silhouette Design Studio how to actually make your fonts a little bit thicker so you can then cut them out with ease on your electronic die cutting machines. The first thing we need to do is to type some text. So just go to your text icon and then type what you need to write, whether it be a sentiment or even a quote that you're going to print out. So I'm going to do something simple like happy birthday. Once you have your your text written up, you can then center it. And now it's time to choose the font that we would like to use. So I'm going to have a look at the Brilliance typeface. And you can see here, even if I make it bigger, it's quite a thin font. I'm just going to fill it in for you so you can get a better idea of the font itself. And you can see when I zoom into certain parts of this font that this kind of part here, if you were cutting this on vinyl, it would be very hard to cut because it's so thin, and you would tend to find it could in fact rip. So what do you do to make your fonts a little bit fatter? Well, the first thing you can do is use the offset tool. But there are a couple of things you need to do before using this. Depending on how close your fonts are, and I'm going to zoom in again, you may need to actually separate your fonts into individual little text boxes so you can move them across so you've got plenty of room for each font to be made a little bit fatter, so to speak. But it's a matter of trial and error with a lot of these things. So if I go to offset straight up and click on offset, you can see now that it's created my font outline. Now we don't want an outline. If you were doing shadowing, that would be great, but we don't want that. We want that to be slightly smaller, and we want it just big enough to make our font a little bit fatter so we can actually cut this out with ease without having issues of ripped vinyl. So if you go across here to the distance bar, you can see it here, and it will give you in centimeters or millimeters, depending on how you have your studio set up, the thickness. At the moment, you can see it's 19 millimeters. So if you drop that down and slowly drop it down, you can see yourself moving it. And I've got 0.9 here at the moment. And it gets to a point where you can see here, you've still got the gap, but it's a little bit thicker. Check all of your text to make sure that you've got that everywhere. And then when you're happy with it, select Apply. Now what we have created, and I'm going to fill it in a different colour so you can see. I'm going to fill that in with red. Under normal circumstances, you could cut this and you could cut in two different colours and have a shadow effect. But we want our text to be a little bit bigger. So if I zoom out, and all I have to do is grab my original text and move it across. It's going to highlight everything there and join it up together. And if we put these side by side, and I'll zoom in a little bit more for you, you can see that the offset that we created is that little bit thicker than the original text, and this will be a lot easier to cut, especially when we're using vinyl or thin cardstock. You can do this technique with many different fonts. I'm going to show you a cursive font now, so I'm going to delete that. And we're going to write again, happy birthday. Center it. And now if we go to a fine cursive font, And I'm going to try, I think, Bright Light. It helps if I select it. And it comes up on the left. And again, you can see here that in parts the font is quite thin. So I'm going to fill that for you so you can see again that it's black. And if we now go to the offset window and select offset, you can see again that it has created a 0.2 of a centimetre, which is 2 millimetres around each text. But if you make it smaller, and you can do this quite quickly and easily, it will make that text a little bit bigger. Now, the other thing to remember as well is that when you do this, sometimes it's actually a blessing a little bit because it will actually weld everything together for you. So if I click apply, and then I fill it in, I'll do it in red again, you can see again that we have made our text a little bit bigger and fatter, so to speak. And when I remove the original text away, you can see that we have the same font, it's just a little bit thicker. And you know, you can use this for shadowing, but for me, something like this is great, especially when I'm cutting vinyl or cardstock, because these really thin parts here, they just won't cut, they'll just rip with the silhouette blade. So to have it a little bit thicker but still keep the same font, you get the effect of the font you're using, but you've got now a thick enough gap that when you cut it, it will not rip. Now, the other thing you can do is the opposite. So if you have, and I'm going to delete this again and zoom back out, if you type in your text again, center it. If you have a really thick font, and we'll say something like Ludo, it's in here somewhere, doesn't want to find it today. Ludo-Kudo, there it is. Now, if you look at this font, and I'll fill it in, you can see that this is actually quite a fat font. And if we would like this to be skinnier, because we didn't want it so bulky or bold, we can actually do the opposite with the same offset window. So if we click Open Window Offset, and then we select Internal Offset, and let me just make this clear again because you'll find it easier to see. If I clicked Internal Offset, it does the opposite. It actually produces the lines inside the text, not outside the text. So I can actually then increase the size of offset, which will make our offset here smaller. So I'm doing that now. I'm going to apply, and I'm going to fill it so you can see, and there we have it. So if I move the original text away and fill it with black, and you can see now that we have done the opposite. We've had the thick font of Ludo-Kudo, and we have now done an internal offset, which has now created the same font, but a thinner style. So if you were printing this and you didn't want such a bulky text, it does exactly the same thing. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned to other blog posts on fontbundles.net, because we'll have things advertised every week and different tutorials for you to look at. Thank you.